Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering two of the tanks that are currently at tier 9 available for silver in the game. That is the Concept 1B and the Object 752. They are both available for 75 million silver in the store tab on the anniversary section, as you can see here. That's where you get your tanks for silver, and they are both there for 75 million silver. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, what we're going to do is go over the two tanks, what we run in terms of recruit and equipment, and then the statistics of the vehicles while they are fully equipped out. So we're going to start with the tier 9 American premium heavy tank, the Concept 1B, which is a very nice tier 9 heavy tank. The only real thing that this tank lacks is DPM. That is about it. Everything else about this tank is lovely because the mobility is very, very nice. The gun handling's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. The view range is pretty decent. The penetration's good. The alpha's nice. In general, it's just a pretty good tank. And it's very good hull down as well, which is lovely for the Concept 1B. It is definitely that heavium style of gameplay, as if you put the traction system on it, it will hit 49 kilometers an hour, as you're seeing. And generally, you play it more like that sort of slightly slower medium tank, and you'll have a great time with the Concept 1B. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? So in terms of the equipment, I run the advanced loader, the traction system, optics. Optics to be able to get that 512 meters of view range, with the traction system to help us get up to 49 kilometers an hour, so that we can play that heavy and play style and play that sort of medium-esque gameplay from this vehicle, go get to good hull down locations quite early, and just start smashing away with this gun. And the advanced loader to make the best out of the DPM, because like I said, the DPM on this vehicle is really not that good. So you want to help it out as much as you can with the advanced loader. And then in terms of a crew on this vehicle, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Rapid Aim. Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better on this vehicle, so I can get the turret snapped in on target a little bit quicker, because it's nice to have that faster turret traverse on this tank to make it that more medium-esque type of vehicle. All three gun perks to make the gun as good as possible, because it can be derpy, and since I am not running the gun stabilizer, I really want to help out the gun as much as possible with the three gun perks. Track Mechanic, because I do play it like a heavy tank at times, and sometimes I will go side scraping. It's not the most ideal thing for the tank in the universe, but occasionally I will do it, because it can, if it wants to. And also, for when I get tracked in those brawly situations, I like to get the tracks back on quicker, just like most other heavy tanks. But you could quite easily switch that out for something like off-road driving, so that you could reduce the effect of the ground resistances on this vehicle so that it hits its top speed even easier, and you can just get going with this tank and play it like that medium tank gameplay, or run clutch braking to make the track traverse even quicker. It's really down to you and how you want to feel comfortable playing this vehicle. Let's have a quick look at the modules now for the tank. As you can see, that's where the engine bay is. It is a 20% internal fire chance, which is on the high end of fire chances, and it does get set on fire a fair whack, especially if you get shot in that back end and through that back engine bay. So be very, very careful of that in the Concept 1B. The ammo racks are there in the Concept 1B, which is through, again, if you get shot in the drive wheel on the left or the right, the likelihood is you're possibly going to lose your ammo rack. So be very careful of that in the Concept, and that's where the crew sit in this tank. So here are the statistics for the Concept 1B. As you can see, you've got a 49.5 kilometer an hour top speed with a 19.8 kilometer an hour reverse speed, which is very, very nice. The reverse speed and the top speed are very good for this heavy tank. With a 20.64 horsepower per ton ratio, it means you will get to the top speed, which is very nice on this tank. With 39.6 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, so it does turn very, very quickly. And with a 36.49 degree a second turret rotation speed, the turret does turn slower than the tracks, which is why I've helped it with the rapid aim if I can, because it does feel a little bit sluggish on the turret rotation compared to the tracks. Your soft terrain resistance at 2.21 isn't that great, but 1.2 on medium and 1.1 on firm isn't too bad. But this is why it's nice to maybe think about running off-road driving, so that you don't have this hold you back to getting to this top speed, so you can have that slightly better mobility. 512 meters of view range is great for this vehicle. It means you'll spot for yourself really, really nice, especially if you get to those aggressive hull down ridge lines where you can spot sight lines and get some assistance damage. It can be very nice for that. 0.76 accuracy during rotation, I should say, is okay. That's not bad for saying we're not running the gun stabilizer. With 2.41 accuracy during movement, which is really not very good. And that's the thing that why you really want to run the run and gun perk, especially because, yeah, the accuracy draw and movement isn't that great. Accuracy draw and rotation, though, without a gun stabilizer is pretty decent. But it does mean that even during rotation and during movement, this tank's aim circle does bloom out a lot, meaning you will feel the 2.12 second aim time that this tank does have, but 2.12 second aim time isn't too bad in general. It's one of those things that if you can live without that extra mobility that this tank can get with the traction system, and the gun annoys you, run the gun stabilizer and you'll knock the accuracy draw and movement down quite a lot, and the accuracy draw and rotation will get very good, and the aim circle won't bloom out much at all, and you'll be ready to snap shots left, right and centre. I just like having the extra mobility on this vehicle to have that flexibility. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which again is fantastic, means this tank is great on a ridgeline, and you can use the fantastic turret armour to go hull down and just bounce shots left, right and centre. 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters isn't the best accuracy in the universe when you terms of a lot of tanks that can get down to this, because, you know, quite a few tanks that get into 2.9, 2.8 accuracy. 0.31 can still be a little bit derpy, but quite frankly, 0.31 is still super duper accurate compared to what it used to be around 6.0, right? With 9.92 second reload, which is 2.4k DPM, which is very low for DPM, to be fair. And you do feel how slow the reload is on this tank, because 2.4k DPM really isn't great. I mean, if we were to go look at something like the M103, which is its American compatriot, right? Without crew, it gets 2.7k DPM. Yeah, it's an extra 300 on the DPM without a crew. Says something, right, as to how bad the DPM actually is on the old Concept 1B. So, yeah. You've got 258 penetration on the standard APCR rounds, with 310 penetration on the premium heat rounds, 53mm of penetration on the HE, which means the HE can be quite useful for 515 alpha against lightly armoured vehicles, but it's not got the best penetration in the universe, and there's quite a few tanks it won't pen. There's even quite a few artillery it will struggle with as well. But 258 APCR pen is fantastic, with 1478 meters a second shell velocity. Fantastic. You can give good amount of... You don't have to give that much lead at all, really, with the APCR to hit your target. But bear in mind that when you switch to the 310 pen heat, which will still go through most targets you're going to face, but it's not quite obviously as good as 330, 340 that the M103 gets. 310 is nothing to sniff at. And 1,173 meters a second shell velocity on the heat rounds means that, yes, you are pretty above average in terms of your shell velocity, but you've got to be careful about how much lead you are giving, because you do still need to give a decent amount of lead to hit the targets at distance, because it's still not that 1478 meters a second shell velocity that the standard APCR gets, and you've just got to make an adjustment to your fire when you switch to that round. And as you can see, it's a tier 9 premium, it gets no bonuses. I kind of wish tier 9s and tier 10s got really good crew bonus instead of, well, just really good crew bonus, so they were crew trainers, so there's some other pull to buying them, right? As opposed to just, that tank looks good, I'm going to buy it. But there we go, it doesn't get any bonuses. But yeah, that's the Concept 1B. It is a pretty nice heavium of a tank. Go get hull down, use the gun, use the turret armor to bounce shots left, right and centre, and have a pretty decent time with the Concept 1B. 75 million silver is a pretty decent, well, it's just a pretty expensive amount to put into it, saying you don't get any bonuses. But if you do think you like the looks of it, and you do have 75 million silver knocking around, you could quite easily go pick it up, and you would have a good time with it, because it is a pretty fun tank. The only realistic thing that is bad about this tank, and it is really bad, is that DPM. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is send you into the replay, where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you. So as always everybody, I'll see you in the replay. So here we are in the American Tier 9 Premium Heavy Tank, the Concept 1B, and we're on the newly returned map, Ardennes. And on Ardennes, what I was thinking of doing at this point in time was possibly going towards the position at B0, where I could get hull down, shoot down the 8B line, just have a nice little hull down brawl that you can have up there. And since we've got that 49 km/h top speed, which you can see we easily hit, I was thinking, well, maybe I could get that way. But then I decided, okay, well, you know, seeing where their cap is, you know what, I don't really fight over this left-hand side that much at the minute. So let's just go change it up, right? Let's go change it up, go fight down the 1-2, and just get towards their cap. Which, with the new iteration of Ardennes, I do feel like the caps are in the wrong place. Because if you never experienced Ardennes before it disappeared, before 6.0, Ardennes' caps used to be at around B2, B3, and JK9 in that sort of area as well for our cap. And that was just so much better balance in terms of where the caps were. Where the caps are now leads to a bit of wonky gameplay, in the fact that people tend to gravitate towards the caps are, where the caps are, to be able to, you know, go fight. So what tends to happen is, generally, I mean, it's not going to happen too much in this game, but generally, quite a lot of the teams you see charge straight down the JK and then up towards the enemy cap from our spawn and then go fight in these hull down locations. And their team does exactly what they're doing now, which is they go down the BC line and then sort of push down the A9 to get as close to possible to our cap, which just leads to a bit frustrating gameplay, to be honest, for Ardennes. And I do wish I do hope that they'll move the caps back to where they were originally when this map first came out, so that we can just have that bit more balanced gameplay in terms of where people go in on the flanks. I mean, realistically, it might not change anything at all, but it just means that people aren't at the caps instantaneously, because that's what it feels like at the minute, is that within the first minute or two, people are at the caps. Like, look what we've done. We're just over 2 minutes in, sorry, and we're already at their cap, fighting at the cap, right? Which then leads to some games where the enemy team might not have defended the cap very well. We've already capped out in the next minute, which is just super frustrating. But there we go. I digress. We're talking about the tank. We're up to 828 damage so far, and we're just looking for shots into their campy TDs that are up on top of the ridgelines at C2, and some of the heavy tanks that are in front of us as well. So we're just looking for a shot into the Chaug, but I can't quite find that shot. And the Leopard 1 also got spotted and tried to take a pot shot at us, and thankfully for me, he also missed it. I am hull down right now, so I do feel quite comfortable in the fact that they're probably not going to pen me. Now, the turret armor on this vehicle is very good. It will bounce quite a lot of shots, but you still have to be careful, because it's not absolutely invulnerable, and that means that if you just sit there going, haha, shoot at me, and something with very high pen shoots at you, naturally, it probably will go through. So you've got to be careful of that. But if you keep him bobbing up and down on the ridgeline, accentuating the angles of the turret armor, you will bounce a lot off this turret, and it is very nice for that. So you can see I'm just trying to work the angles on these ridge lines, trying to keep myself in a position where I can only expose my turret and keep the shots flying. Failing at this point in time as we give ourselves a free shot from the Leopard there. But we've got a shot into the side of the Conchicaro 1 Mark II's turret, so we're going to take that every day of the week. We're also spotting that guy back there, so we're up to 1123 assistance damage with 1221 damage ourselves as well. And I'm just trying to progress this fight. I don't want to end up in a stuck stalemate. So we see the Moistion, and it's like, hello Moistion, I'm going to look for a shot into your cupola. I side scrape it out, and he ends up just doing track damage only. I went for the cupola shot there with the 258 penetration that the APCR has. But the 258 penetration on this APCR might still bounce off the rounded cupola of that Moistion. So I'm more starting to think, okay, let's load heat. Get the 310 penetration heat in, and we'll be able to go through the turret cheeks of the Moistion or through that cupola. And as you can see, 310 pen, straight through the poor guys. Turret cheeks, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So that just starts to progress the fight again, because we don't want to get stuck. But I do notice there that Chaug is being a sneaky boy, and I don't want his big gun in the side of my tank. No, I don't want that pain, because 150 plus millimeter gun of pain, yeah, I'm not about that life. So I'm going to use my mobility to get out of dodge, possibly get him flanked round the Chaug, and then I can find easy shots into his side and rear, and then try and find anything else that might be sitting over towards the D56 area, like the 50B that was spotted, and try and just, again, change the fight. See, we don't want to just get stale, sit in front of people, and then just duke it out in a hull down fight where no one wins. We want to try and win this game. So we managed to snap a shot there into the back of the 50B, which is quite a nice shot. It's quite a nice RNG. And we're now getting into a flanking position to be able to shoot the Chaug and other tanks like that. Sadly, the Leopard 1 is still camping on top of the hill, so he does get a shot into our side. But we're now into a hull down location where I can just poke over, they can only see my turret, and I can start shooting the back of the Chaug and then distract him. I'm either going to force him into making an aggressive play, which makes him lose all of his hit points, or he's going to turn around and try and face me, and then again, my friends can deal with him while he's distracted, which is what's happened. The Chaug has basically gone, okay, I'm being shot in the side. Nope, I'm just going to push into the two guns in front of me. He basically lost most of his hit points. We go for the shot into the side there, but we hit the spaced armor on top, which was never really going to go in. It's because it's kind of like shooting an E100 in that regard. That if you shoot the side skirts, a lot of the time the side skirts will just absorb the shot. But my 5A shuts down the Chaug, and we're up to 2.8k damage with 1100 assistance, and we spot that pesky leopard, get a lovely shot into the leopard there, and make him think twice about coming to shoot me. The Conchicaro 1 Mark II pokes in a very awkward spot. I go for that little engine deck spot that was poking out. Sadly, though, the APCR ricochets. But he gets finished off by the 5A, feeding us some assistance damage as well, which is always delightful. And I'm just trying to stay hull down on this ridgeline and find a shot into the leopard, which we get in for 366. And this is what this tank is all about. It's all about working these ridgelines, trying to find those shots where you can get nice shots into people, but also all they can do is shoot you in the turret. We end up thinking, okay, I'm going to go after the leopard here, push in and just try and get rid of this guy. We take a hit in the side from something over in the distance, which tracked Ampenners, but we use our repair kit to get the tracks back on. And it's like, hello, Mr. Leopard. Put a shot into the back of the leopard, which again will mean he'll either turn round and come into me and feed me the damage, or he's just going to YOLO forward into the other gun. And that's exactly what he's done, and he's gone. It's amazing the amount of people that do that. Rather than just turning to see and shoot the things behind them, especially if they're near full health, instead of just turning around and shooting the one tank behind them, they'll just YOLO forward into everybody's guns. It's always mental that people do that. But there's the tank that shot us. STRV 103B. Sneaky sausage of a Swedish tank. We got a shot into the side of that STRV. Just looking for another shot in. I didn't really want to take a hit from him if I could help it, because I didn't want to go down to a one-shot, because that could make it fairly awkward. But he is running away outside of his siege mode, which means he's not really going to be able to retaliate that easily. And because he's just running away, you know what, Mr. STRV, okay, it's curtains for you, my son. We put an RBRT shot into the back end of the STRV 103B. I'm kind of hoping he'll stop so I could ram him, but the Marat ends up finishing him off. And that was a pretty nice game there for the Concept 1B on Ardennes, and we finished with the victory. The second on the team, 0 kills though, with 5.1k damage and the 1507 assistance. The first class, the Confederate, for 1564 base XP. A really nice game there for the Concept 1B, just showing off exactly what it wants to be doing, going hull down and having a great time. And it is a fantastic tank, with only the DPM being the bad point of the vehicle. So we're on to the second tank that is available for Silver at Tier 9. It is the Object 752, available for 75 million silver. It's a pretty decent tank. It's a pretty decently balanced tank. It's not fantastic, it's not great, but it's also not bad, right? It's one of those tanks that sits in the middle, where the armor is troll. It's not the best armor in the universe where it'll bounce absolutely everything, but it's troll enough that you can ricochet a good amount of shots, especially when people shoot at that lower plate. They're not always guaranteed to go through it, and especially if you angle well enough, you can bounce quite a lot with it. You've got to be careful about these cupolas on top, though, as the cupolas on top of this tank are very, very easy to pen, so be careful of that. If you're using your full gun depression, the cupolas can be a little bit difficult to see, but generally they are easy to hit, and you've really got to be careful if they are huge weak spots for this vehicle. The mobility of the vehicle is also pretty average at 40. It's not terrible mobility, because it's not the true average mobility of a heavy tank in World War II, which is about 35 kilometers an hour. It's a little bit better than that, but it is still a fairly sluggish heavy tank. And the gun can be pretty derpy, but it does have a nice 3-shot autoloader, which can dish out damage pretty consistently. And generally, it's a tank that I have really just enjoyed playing. It's one of those that, once you get it, you do have a good time with it, but it can be pain if you try and overextend in it too much. So without further ado, let's have a look at the equipment and the crew that I run on this tank. So I run the optics, the gun stabilizer, and the gun laying drive. Gun laying drive because the aim time on this vehicle does suck a little bit, and because the aim circle does bloom out quite a lot, you really want to help the aim time out as much as possible so you can get your shots downrange in this tank. The gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, so that that aim circle doesn't bloom out as much as it does without them, because it's even with the gun stabilizer, it still blooms out a lot. So you're reducing the amount of time it does take you to actually aim in that regard as well. And the optics to be able to get 486 meters of view range, which is okay view range for a tier 9 tank, and that will still help you be able to spot for yourself and not get out spotted too badly, and be able to, especially if someone does outspot you and they shoot you, you'll still likely spot them back, which is nice. And then in terms of a crew on this tank, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Deadeye. Deadeye for the memes, so I can increase my chance of doing module damage by 6%. And since I've got an autoloader and I'm putting 3 shells in pretty quickly, it's nice to have that just for the memes. But it's quite easy to run something like clutch braking, so you turn this tank faster, or rapid aim to make the turret traverse faster because the turret traversed and the track traverse aren't the quickest in the universe, so it could be something that you really help out. All 3 gun perks, because yes, this gun can be derpy, so it's just nice to help it out with those 3 gun perks. Trap Mechanic, because I do play this thing rather brawly-like, and it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on quicker, especially after I've already burnt the repair kit. But there's plenty of things you could run on that tank, like I say, running rapid aim or clutch braking. It's really down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the vehicle. And in terms of the modules, that's where the engine bay is on the 752. Again, 15% internal fire chance. Feels like a lie. But that's because it's Soviet, and Soviet tanks just like getting set on fire. They are generally tinderboxers. So be careful of that. If you get shot in that back end, you are just going to get set on fire. That is the pain of the 752 in that regard. The ammo, as you can see, that's where the ammo racks are on the 752. If they shoot you in that middle section, they're likely to damage your ammo rack. If they go through your upper plate, which is quite a difficult thing to do on this tank, but unless they're firing the extremely high pen tier 10 premium, then they're likely to damage the ammo rack there as well. And that is where the crews sit in the 752. And in terms of the stats, as you can see, you got a 40 km/h top speed with a 12 km/h reverse speed, 635 horsepower engine. It's 13.99 horsepower per ton ratio, meaning you do get up to the 40 km/h top speed, but it is fairly sluggish getting there. And the 12 km/h reverse speed is really, really poor. It's not very good in terms of getting backwards. 30 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is slow as well. Like I say, it does turn very slow, which adds to the sluggish feel of the tank. And the ground resistances at 2.67 is dreadful, 1.47 is not very good as well, and 1.2 isn't great for firm. So the ground resistances do really hold back the tank, and again, you could run off-road driving to try and make that better if you wanted to too, because again, it just adds to the general mobility feeling very sluggish with this tank. And with 486 meters of view range, like we said, it's pretty nice for being able to not get outspotted too much, or when you do get outspotted and someone shoots at you, you will be able to spot them back. 24.98 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is way slower than the hull, and that is also paying. The turret traverse on this tank is very, very slow. 0.5 accuracy during rotation, or 0.56 accuracy during rotation, I should say, is actually pretty good though, but 2.49 accuracy during movement is really not great. And that means that as soon as you start moving in this tank, it does mean the aim circle blooms out quite a lot, and it does take a while to get the gun fully aimed in, as 2.76 second aim time is also pretty horrible, and means that, yeah, you do sit around waiting for the aim time a lot as well. 8 degrees of gun depression is very flexible though for a Soviet heavy tank, and that means you are very good on a ridgeline, and ridgelines are kind of where this tank wants to be, so they're limiting the amount of tank people has to shoot. They can bounce off what is a pretty decent turret as long as they're not catching the cupolas, and then you can use the ridgeline to put 3 shots out and pull back to safety while you reload. 11.7 degrees of elevation though is pretty poor, but that is truly an oscillating turret problem. 0.34 accuracy at 100 meters is also pretty derpy, adds to the derpy feeling of this 122mm gun. So yeah, it's not the best gun in the universe. 27.55 second reload is also apparently 2k DPM, but again, you don't pay too much attention to DPM in autoloaders, as it's more about the burst damage that they put out. But 27.55 seconds is still quite a long reload for a 3-shot autoloader, as the intraclip is also 3.2 seconds, which is very long in of itself as well. The 3.2 second intraclip is a little bit long too, and you can feel that when you're firing the shells. 248 penetration on the standard AP is a little bit low for a tier 9 heavy tank, but it's still not bad. 318 penetration on the premium APCR though is pretty good, and we'll go through most tanks you're going to face. And 68mm penetration on the HE is pretty okay as well, but generally, because of the long reload, you're not really going to take HE in this tank. You have 390 alpha on those rounds, with 862 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, 988 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR, which again is below average in terms of the shell velocity, so just be careful of that. It just adds to the derpy gun handling feel of this tank. And generally with the stats and the way that the tank is, like I say, the tank isn't great. but it's also just not bad. It sits in that sort of zone where it's balanced to just starting to get onto the bad section, or the mediocre section is probably what we're saying. If you were to spend 75 million silver, I mean, if you have 75 million silver knocking around, you want to pick up a tank, sure, you could pick up this tank if it looks like it's interesting to you. But there's other tanks that are available that are probably way better picks than the 752. But with silver being an economy that you can just grind for free, it would basically be for free at that point, right? But it's just your time and effort at that, to grind that much silver, which is a lot of silver. But I can't really say anything as I have 825 mil. It is what it is. But the 752, that is the 752 stats. Like I say, I do enjoy playing this vehicle. It isn't the best vehicle in the universe, but once you get how to kind of use it, you can have quite a bit of fun with it. But like I said, this is one that a lot of people probably won't pick up because they already own it from one of the season passes. And it is what it is. But what I'm going to do now is send you over to the replay where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if the tank is a little bit of you. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are with the replay for the Object 752. And like I say, it's a tank that I do enjoy playing. It isn't the best tank in the universe, but again, it's also just not the worst. You can fully have a good game with it. You can feel capable of having a decent game in this tank. There's just frustrations with it, right? In the fact that it does feel that little bit sluggish with its mobility. And the gun just loves a good miss at times. Not all the time. If you do fully aim the shots, it will hit when you are at close range. But when you're the further you get from the target, the gun just goes, you know what? I could hit that tank over there. Or I could just miss. And you go, come on. And it gets obviously even more frustrating when you miss the shots in a tank like this, because you only have 3 chances to hit those shots with the clip. And then for every shot that you miss, the reload of the clip starts to feel worse and worse and worse, right? You know what I'm saying? And with the intra-clip reload being 3.2 seconds as well, it just feels like it takes a bit of time to be able to slap out those rounds as well. Very similar to something like the Emil 2 in that regard, but obviously you don't have the hull-down capacity quite like an Emil 2 where you feel almost invulnerable. So, on Ghost Town, in a tier 10 game, we have come to the position that was at E7, and we're going to go after this tank here that's the MXM454. We see the shot to the side of the turret and put the shot straight through. Watch what's going off on our left and decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to go for a full reload again because I don't feel like I'm going to get the opportunity to dump 2 shells without taking a hit, so I may as well get a full clip ready for when I make my next move. Which will either to be attack the MXM454, see if we can get rid of him, or then push in to be able to try and pressure the guys that are currently sitting at E4. So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm just going to watch what's going off on my left-hand side. I'm thinking about side scraping it out, but you know, watching what they're doing, they're in a place where they're not really going to get a chance to shoot at me. The 114 SP2 gave us the chance to put a free shot in. He'd already fired, so I knew, again, that I was going to be able to get to this position safely. The 114 SP2 quite clearly just isn't bothered about me. We put another shot through his side, and the E3 ends up finishing him off. Now, I've got to be careful, because if there is anything back at around B3 area, B4 area, it can shoot me in the back end, so that's why I'm trying to hug this corner a little bit easier, in case something like the Chow just decides to drive round in front of an E3 or something like that, and decide to just put a big round in. So I pull back because the Chow is driving up on top of the ridgeline, but then we take a hit from behind. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that, so we put a shot into the drive wheel again of the Chow, and then another shot through his lower plate, and again, he just doesn't seem to care about us whatsoever. But we take another hit from behind, and that means I just can't go back round that corner. I ping the area where I think the tank is, so that someone might go, oh, there's a tank over there, and go and try and spot it. But we're just in a bit of an awkward situation. If something was to pressure us from our left-hand side, say where that 257 is, it's going to be a bit awkward. But now we're reloaded, it's time to go after the T57 Heavy. So we put a shot through the side of the T57 Heavy, second shot through his drive wheel, third shot to finish him off, and just like that, good night, Mr. American Tier 10 Tech Tree Heavy Tank. On to 3.1k damage with 993 assistance, and you can see I am constantly just having to keep an eye. Left, right, what is going on in behind us as well? We're just in a very, very awkward situation. So the moment I pulled back around that corner there, that was a test. That was testing to see if I got spotted. Because if I put around the corner and got spotted, there is still something in a position to be looking at us. So I decided, okay, can't go back. Let's see if we can find a shot of the Chaug. I poke round the corner, don't see the Chaug. Okay, he must have run away. No, he's still there. We get very fortunate that he misses, and I decide I want to try and get rid of him if I can. So I'm going to use the 8 degrees of gun depression on this tank to be able to try and get a shot into that machine gun port. And point blank, that shot goes straight over the machine gun port, and we miss the chance to pen that guy. I decide, okay, he's in a very good position now if he decides to go hull down against me. I don't really want to take that chance. I'm going to back around the corner and see if I can pressure the guys that are pushing from G4. But I'm not liking the situation I'm in. I'm in a very awkward situation. I've got a Chaug at the back door. I've got medium tank, light tank, and a heavy tank at the front gates. It's not a good time at all for us. So the Leopard 1 ends up just RBRTing a shot. I put a shot into the WZ1321, then put a shot into the Leopard. Probably a bit of a misplay. I should have targeted the Leopard in the hope that I could finish him off with 2 shots. But even then, it still would have been quite difficult, to be quite honest, to be able to shut him down in 2 shots. I've had to have good RNG. But I'm just trying to keep my armor angled for the position where they could YOLO in from. The Leopard 1 has run down to the F4 position. I'm just keeping my armor angled towards where the 257 might come from, watching the light tank on the map as well at D5, and the heavy tank's coming as well, but the light tank might come round the corner, but he did look like he was juking away. No, he does come round the corner. Hello, Mr. WZ132A. I was hoping you might do that, and we finish him off. Now we're going to look for a shot into the 257, try and get rid of that guy as well, put a shot into the side of his turret, and of course it bounces. Put a shot in to finish off the 257, and now we're in the reload. There's a light tank coming in from in front of us. It's a Nagila, and we are stuck in this reload. So I'm hoping to be able to just bounce his shot and then put a clip in. But disaster. Tank destroyer appears out of nowhere from behind us. And yeah, it's curtains. There was no surviving that. And that was a really awkward game, but I think it showed the good and the bad there of the tank, where you can bounce some nice shots, but occasionally well, most of the time it still does get penned. The gun can be a bit derpy, but you can still put out a nice amount of damage. And that is the 752. It is a pretty okay tank, like I say. It's not great, but it's also not bad. It's fully capable of doing pretty decently with it, and you can have fun with it. But obviously, most people are going to have this tank already from when it was part of the season pass a wee while ago now, a very long time ago, actually, thinking about it. But yeah, that's the 752, and that's the 2 tanks that you can get for 75 million silver in the store. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!